What's up, cyber world? It is your girl, the one and only Ash Said It, ashsaidit.com, ashsaidit.com. Welcome back to the Ash Said It Daily Podcast Show. We appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you for your love and support. Yes, 500,000 streams worldwide and growing. Thank you so very much. Today, we are joined by author, speaker, blogger extraordinaire, the beautiful Iris Ruth Pastor. Hi, Iris.
Hey, Ash. Good day. Good to be here.
Yes. How are you doing today, Iris?
Well, I'm doing fine because I'm in Florida where it's warm and sunny.
Ooh.
So you can't go by me.
No, that sounds really beautiful, Iris. I'm definitely jealous.
You should be. What can I say?
So, Iris, you've got a lot on your resume. You've got a lot of experience, a lot of different industries. And first, I want to kind of know, what did you see yourself as when you were a kid? What did you want to be?
Well, I think what I wanted to be is somebody that recorded other people's stories. I was very curious as to what made other people tick. And I didn't have a high tolerance for minutia, which followed me all my life. In other words, when I was a young married woman and I would go out to lunch with my friends and they'd start talking about recipes, it was like, okay, I'm out of here. You want to talk about ideas and experiences, that's fine. I don't want to talk shopping. I don't want to talk cooking. I want to talk about what you're feeling. And a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. But that was always a very good source of inspiration for me. And I was always very interested in other people's thoughts and inner workings.
Why do you feel that the first of the year triggers a lot of food disorders?
Well, I think January is difficult for people with eating disorders because we start off the month thinking, okay, it's a month of new beginnings. We can succeed. We have, hope of taking off weight, of going to the gym every day. And for people who battle disordered eating, they are battling these kinds of things every single day in a very hopeless frame of mind. So the fact that January is ripe with promise, it almost creates a culture of unbearable discontent because the only signal we're picking up is get skinnier in the new year. And that is a very difficult message for us. And I think basically what happens is we become paralyzed by those high expectations. And sometimes our disordered eating patterns will increase because of that. So it's kind of a mixed message for people with eating disorders in January.
Gotcha. What are some of the ways that people can overcome these triggers?
Well, I think one of the things is that in some way you have to begin to start tuning out the media messages. And some of the things I wrote a few articles about this recently, Ash, and I literally captured some headlines from magazines and blogs and newspapers, and it was like, ring in the new year with a new look. Work it out the easiest way ever. Be somebody new every day. Be your best ever. Destroy your fat. We have to tune this out and kind of tone down the volume. And I think that's one way that we can help ourselves in the new year.
Right.
I think another way is really starting to understand emotional hunger versus physical hunger. And I don't know if you've had any experience in thinking about it that way, but so many, particularly women, eat for emotional reasons and not for physical hunger. So can I just ask you a question? Can I turn it around and ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Tell me how you know you're hungry. How do you know you're hungry?
Usually I'll get a headache. I'm really bad for eating late. And usually I will get a headache, and that's my body's way of indicating to me, okay, crazy, you need to go and eat something.
So that's really important that you're able to say, okay, I know when I get a headache, I need to eat.
Yeah.
And for some people the signals could be a little different, but they would work the same way. In other words, maybe your stomach growls, or you just have that empty feeling in your gut, or you get lightheaded. I know for me, especially because I do so much writing, when I start to lose my concentration, it's a sign for me that I'm hungry. But people with disordered eating don't eat because they're physically hungry necessarily. They eat because of emotional reasons. They eat because they want to make themselves feel better. And I think that's where the professional treatment can come into play with eating disorders, because you have to start to recognize why you're eating emotionally. And there's an acronym called HALT, which is, hunger, anger, being lonely, and being tired. Those are all things that can spur you to either binge and purge, or just binge, or binge and then go exercise excessively. And I think that it's very important to understand the difference. And until you understand the difference, you can't really start to work on the triggers themselves and managing the triggers. I think it's just very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And we were having a sidebar conversation before we got on the air here, and you made a very good point when we were talking about food disorders. Food disorders are not just the teeny boppers. They're not just the early 20-year-olds. How did you make that distinction?
Well, first of all, because I had bulimia for 46 years, I was very attuned to other people, watching other people, how they dieted, how they did portion control, what they avoided and what they didn't. And I found that among midlife women and baby boomer women, they were still labeling food as either good foods or bad food, and they were still labeling their behavior as, I was good today because I went to the gym and I didn't eat 2 cookies, or I was bad today because, oh my God, I ate that piece of pecan pie and I never worked out on the elliptical. So there was this mentality of scarcity, and that, that dieting, they're always on a diet, they're always restricting. And so when you see that tip of the iceberg, you realize that there's more going on underneath, and I started researching it, and what I learned is that the public may think it's, a skinny white girl that's anorexic and, somebody, and a college student for the first time going away from home who's bulimic. But the truth of the matter is that many eating disorders either begin in midlife or continue all the way through until, to your upper age ranges, or stop and then begin again. And with older women, there's many triggers, Ash, that can propel women into this cycle. Yeah. If you want to talk a little bit about that, I would be happy to.
Yeah, we're going to take a brief break here, Iris, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more about that, and then I absolutely want to jump into this book of yours. Yes, it's book of wisdom that you have shared with the world, and we're going to jump into that and let people know more and more about that. So, you guys hang tight.
Works for me.
Yeah. All right, you guys hang tight for one moment. We'll be right back.
Did you know that some foods can cause weight gain, body aches, and extreme fatigue? These are just some of the symptoms of food intolerance. Well, what is food intolerance? Food intolerance can occur when the body cannot properly digest certain foods. This can result in acid reflux, migraines, and so many other painful issues. How do you find out what foods are causing this irritation? It's easy. Pinner Test. With 500,000 satisfied clients worldwide, Pinner Test is the #1 way of identifying foods that may be causing discomfort. This simple at-home kit is easy to use with results usually within 2 weeks via email. It's that simple, all right? What are you waiting for? Go visit pinnertest.com and use my special promo code AshSaidIt for your discount today.
Welcome back, you guys. This is the Ash Said It Daily podcast show. We are joined by the wonderfully talented Iris Ruth Pastor, and we're talking about what a lot of women have gone through, at least at some point in their life. I know I have, and still deal with it, and how they've overcome it. But Iris has created a memoir in which she opens up about her journey in the secret life of a weight-obsessed woman. Now, Iris, first off, I want to ask, how did you find the courage to open up about your story? Because that can be pretty vulnerable, and you just opening up to the world. How did you do it?
I'm laughing when you're asking me that question because I had no idea of the shame that surrounded this subject until I started talking about it. And I think I was viewed as somebody who, in quotes, had a perfect life. I was a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a writer, a speaker, blah, 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 blah. And what I was on the outside was not what I was on the inside. But I just kind of assumed, okay, I've written about my life all these years, but I've never written about bulimia, and it'll be okay. And honestly, I was shocked at the response I got from the Huffington Post series that I wrote, which was excerpts from the book, and then the book itself when I started circulating it, in an advanced reader copy state. And what was shocking was people constantly were coming up to me and saying, "I'm so proud of you." And I'm thinking they're proud of me because I took the bull by the horns. I owned that I had an addiction. I went for help. Yeah. But what they were proud of is that I was coming out of the closet with it. That's how shameful this topic is, Ash. Gotcha. That's how embarrassed people are about this. And so I think what differentiates my memoir from others is that, first of all, I'm not an expert. So I wrote about a person, myself, who was binging and purging nightly, who used it as a coping mechanism, who never thought she could stop because she had done it for 46 years. And it's not a teenager, and it's not a college student experiencing it. It's someone who's experienced it for 46 years writing about it. And I think that's where the appeal is. And what I've also found is that it's kind of a widget. In other words, your addiction or your obsession may not be weight, it may not be dieting, it could be exercising excessively, it could be gambling, shopping. It's anything that you're doing that's taking away from your quality of life and preventing you from being the best you can be. That's basically what this book is about, is the journey to health, the journey to being the best that you can be. Mine was through the path of overcoming bulimia, but that was just the example. That was the example.
Now, what advice would you offer to any person, regardless of age, that may be battling an eating disorder?
I think the first thing that you need to do is accept the fact that you can't do it alone. And I think that there are many books on the subject. There are many internet sources that you can go to. If you type in eating disorder treatment centers, there's a ton of them that come up. Yeah. There are psychologists in every city that deal with these kinds of things. I think it's the mindset of, I can't go at it alone. You have to recognize that. And that was very, very hard for me. And I want to just make one point here. The interesting thing was, Ash, that over the years, I had gone through therapy. I had gone through therapy to help me with anger management, to help me with anxiety, to help raise my self-esteem, but I never brought up the subject of my eating disorder. And as I talk to experts in the field and other people that are suffering, very common, very common. Wow. So you're not dealing with it directly, but my point is, it can be dealt with directly too. But you may be further along on the path than you think, because if you've had some therapy before, you've already dealt with some of the issues, and you just may need further treatment to be able to kick it. So, and that was my experience. But I think the main thing is you just have to accept the fact you're going to need some professional intervention.
Understood. Iris, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you, all these little gemstones that you've dropped on my audience. I commend you. I tip my hat to you. I definitely appreciate these words of wisdom. And
Well, Ash, you brightened my day also. Everybody loves a little acknowledgement and recognition, and you certainly gave me that, and I'm most appreciative.
Oh, thank you so much. And Iris, let everyone know the best way to get in contact with you and, of course, to pick up that book.
It is. It's available on Amazon pre-sale, which means if you buy it now, it will not be delivered until the end of the month. I also have a Gmail account, irisruthpastor@gmail.com. I would be more than happy to answer anyone out there that needs any help or encouragement or direction. And my website is www.irisruthpastor.com.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Anne.
Not a problem. And thank you guys for tuning into the show. I appreciate you guys so very much. Keep in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do, you look them square in the face and tell them, don't believe me, just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for. We're doing this for the history books. Social media is nice, but real life is so much better. Until next time, you guys.